There are three goals you can set in 2026 that will help you to heal from body focused repetitive behaviors like chronic skin picking, hair pulling, and nail biting. These three goals will help you to make long term sustainable change. They will help you to grow in ways that nothing else has worked before. But before I share with you what they are, we need to address the elephant in the room, which is New Year's resolutions. And why do most fail? They fail because most of the time we are building our New Year's resolution in hope, inspiration, and motivation, which is beautiful, but it's so unstable. Grounding any of your goals in pure emotion alone is setting you up for failure because emotions are supposed to come and go. So, what happens when we don't feel hopeful anymore? When we don't feel motivated? When we don't feel inspired? What happens when we feel stuck, hopeless, doubtful? Ed Sheeran, Taylor Swift, and literally anyone who has won a gold medal at the Olympics has not succeeded and achieved these incredible goals based on pure motivation, inspiration, and hope. If you think about it, these people have definitely felt doubt, they felt stuck, they felt lost, and they felt like giving up sometimes. That's part of the process. Here's what makes the difference. They ground their goals in purpose. They understand deeply why they are doing this and what the whole point of it is. They also have support, systems, processes, and a healthy dose of reality and logic to ground them when the going gets tough. If we don't have these things, as soon as the motivation, the hope, and the inspiration disappears, because it will, then so does your drive. And that's why most New Year's resolutions fail, because we base them purely on emotion. So that is not what we are going to be doing in this episode. I'm going to help you to set three incredible, powerful goals that not only inspire you and motivate you and give you hope, but also ground you into reality, align you with your purpose. And I'm going to give you the system and processes that will help you to make these goals achievable and a reality so that you can make long-term sustainable change in healing from chronic skin picking, hair pulling, and nail biting in 2026. 2026 is truly going to be different, but it's because we are going to show up differently. My name is Rafaela Marie. I'm your host. I heal from 15 years of chronic skin picking through a holistic and science-based approach. This is the Beyond Skin Picking and Hair Pulling podcast, where I share with you all of my secrets, insights, tips, practices, and strategies and personal experience so that you can heal just as I did. And if you want more support, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and the notification bell. If you're on any other platform, leave a 5-star review. Any kind of interaction you give this on whatever platform that you are on massively supports me, and I deeply appreciate it. Let's get into it. There are three areas of growth we want to focus on in healing from body-focused repetitive behaviors. From each of those areas, we are going to set for you a goal inside of them. Then I'm going to take you through the very effective and logical and reality-based system that will help you to feel like these goals are truly attainable. This is a system that I use for myself. It's also what I use with my clients. It really does make a difference. Now, the three areas of growth are self-care, movement, and emotional safety/resilience. These are the three areas of growth because when you grow in these areas, they directly impact your need for chronic skin picking and hair pulling and nail biting. I've seen this for myself. I've seen this in my clients. This is us addressing the root cause. We're not coming into 2026 focusing solely on the behavior and how we can control it and manage it and manipulate ourselves and tiptoe around the behavior so we don't trigger ourselves too much. We are getting straight to the root cause. And now let's go through those three areas and see, where are you feeling drawn to grow? Where you feel drawn to grow is where we are going to set a goal for you. And just real quick, we are going to set an absolute maximum of 3 goals. I encourage you to make it 1 or 2. The fewer goals we have, but the more specific and grounded in them that we are, the more achievable that goal becomes. When we look at self-care, we're looking at ensuring that we eat properly every day, that we drink enough water, that we make space for creativity, that we keep our space tidy so that when we are in our own space, we feel calm. We ensure that we sleep well. Self-care are the basic things that you need to thrive as a human being. You don't necessarily need a pedicure. to thrive. So if you're getting pedicures, but you are not always eating properly or consistently healthy food, then that is an area of self care to focus on. I'm not saying pedicures are a bad thing, they're awesome. But when we're talking about self care, we are talking about the things that you cannot thrive without. For me personally, sleeping better is definitely going to be a goal for 2026. And I'm going to unpack you with that in the process. And you'll see how I develop this goal into something that is actually achievable. And the reason why self care is so important is because self care is often one of the first things to go when we feel like we don't have time, when we feel like we're not doing good enough. And then the less we care for ourselves, the less regulated we're going to be, the less we're going to feel good in ourselves, and the more we're going to need skin picking and hair pulling and nail biting. The better you are at caring for yourself, the less you're going to need those behaviors. The second area is movement. Moving your body. And I'm not saying doing a HIIT workout every day. I'm saying ensuring that you move your body on a regular basis, whether that's ensuring that you go for a walk, that you do yoga, Pilates, go to the gym, go for a swim, do mobility. I'm currently regularly doing mobility workouts, and I gotta say, I highly, highly recommend it to anyone. If you haven't yet found your type of movement that you really love doing, or if you're in a bit of limbo right now, like you're unsure, give mobility a go. It's one of those forms of exercise that doesn't have to be super intense. It can be gentle and slow, but highly effective as well. It's something my husband and I are absolutely loving. Anyway, how are you doing in movement? And maybe you're not feeling drawn to movement because maybe it's okay for you right now. Maybe you're pretty happy with where you're at. You're not feeling a lot of resistance around it. You're okay with that right now. Perhaps self care, you felt more drawn and you're noticing, oh, I really want to grow in that area. I know I can do better in that area. So, I wonder for you, how is movement? Would you like to improve? Are you feeling drawn to grow? Is anything piquing your interests? The reason why movement is so important, it is simply one of those things that your body needs for your brain and everything to function on a healthy, on a stable level. We need to be moving our body regularly. It helps our hormones to stay in balance. It helps our brain to produce oxytocin and dopamine and all these really great chemicals that we need to thrive. Exercise does that, movement does that. The more stagnant we are, the more we're going to take out that excess energy, that frustration that being stagnant creates. We're going to take that out on our skin or our hair or our nails. Now, the third area, emotional safety slash resilience. This is things like boundaries, vulnerability, speaking up. And that doesn't necessarily mean standing up for yourself. It just means sharing what you really think, how you really feel, what you really want. Instead of just being go with the flow and easy, it's becoming more connected to community, receiving support, getting support when you need support, not lone wolfing it. We're not supposed to lone wolf this. We need support in achieving our goals, in growing, in getting anywhere in life. And emotional safety is built through developing healthier boundaries, through allowing ourselves to become more vulnerable, by showing more of ourselves, by speaking up and sharing what we think, how we feel, what we want, what we don't like, what we do like. And this allows us to build more community around ourselves. It allows us to reach out for support. And that all of that builds emotional safety, which allows us to relax and slow down and just be. And in that space, a lot of healing happens. Building emotional safety is so important. And as we build emotional safety, we're also building emotional resilience, which means we have a greater capacity for discomfort. The greater capacity we have for discomfort, the less we need body focused repetitive behaviors because they are there to help us to soothe the emotions that we feel like we can't handle when it's getting too much, when it's getting overwhelming. And so the more we expand our capacity to be with those emotions, the less we need those other kind of tools. Now, for me in this area, I'm going to be focusing on community in my personal life and also with you in this BFRB community. I have some very exciting stuff coming up, which we will unpack as we go through the steps to setting your goals for 2026. So I wonder if a couple of things have come up for you. You've got 1 to absolute max 3 things that you would like to focus on. For me, it's going to be sleeping better and building community. Sleeping better is going to allow me to take care of myself better, self care. building more community is going to cultivate more emotional safety. And the things that I'm going to probably have to work through it myself to expand into more community is going to build more emotional resilience. So I'm very excited for it. Now, here's where we start to refine and get really specific on our goals. Just choose one of those goals right now, because you can go through this process again with the other one or two that you have. Choose one of those goals that feels the most important, feels the biggest for you, and ask yourself this question: what is getting in the way of me having this, achieving this goal right now? For me with sleeping well, there's things like dysregulation, overwhelm, some anxiety that get in the way of me right now having better sleep. For community, there are some actual things that I have got to do and set up to make that community more available. Things that may be getting in your way, maybe physical roadblocks, so things that you need to do or create to make that thing possible. Or there can be emotional roadblocks like overwhelm, dysregulation, anxiety, things like that genuinely are stopping you from having that thing that you want right now. And of course, with sleep, that's not something that you can directly control. And so we want to focus on, well, what is getting in the way of having that thing? The reason why we want to identify what is getting in our way, because when we identify what is in our way, we get clearer on what is the way, because whatever is getting in your way, it is the way. The next question you're going to ask yourself is, what is within my control? When it comes to sleep for me, while I can't eliminate overwhelm, dysregulation, and anxiety, I can have a look at what is making those emotions bigger. What am I doing in my day to day that is making those emotions so big that they interrupt my sleep? One of those things is I scroll a little too much, and that definitely contributes to dysregulation and anxiety and overwhelm. And that is something that is in my control. That is something tangible that is within my control. There are other things, but to keep it simple, I'm going to say scrolling on my phone. When it comes to building more community, there are some logistics that I want to figure out. I'm thinking of doing monthly free masterclasses. If you want to keep up to date with when that starts, make sure you subscribe to my emailing list. The link is in the description. I'll make sure it's there. So it's logistics, understanding the when, the what, how I want to do things. But for that specific goal, currently there are no emotional roadblocks. And then if you've identified that there is a certain behavior that you are engaging in that is getting in the way of you achieving that goal, for example, scrolling too much, I want you to ask yourself, what are you getting out of that behavior? For me, what scrolling does is it gives me a quick little break, because I am still working on learning how to give myself quick little breaks throughout the day, how to pause and stop and appreciate everything that I'm already doing, rather than just being constantly a go and pushing and getting things done. The reason why we want to ask ourselves this question is because when we understand, why is this roadblock here? How is it helping me? We don't do anything unless it helps us, even if outwardly it looks like it isn't. When you understand what is in the way, you find the way forward. Because a solution for me is not just scroll less. Obviously, that makes sense, but it's just like telling someone who chronically picks or pulls or bites to their body, just stop picking, pulling, and biting. Yeah, okay. We've tried that. We've also all tried to just stop scrolling. We want to understand, what is this behavior giving me, so that we can actively start to give that to ourselves in a more proactive and intentional and conscious way. For me, it's giving myself a break. I'm already getting much more clearer on that goal. Maybe this applies to one of the goals for yourself, maybe not. Just like with the community goal, it doesn't really apply to that. I don't have any emotional blocks there. It's really just logistical and potentially skill wise. I might need to learn something new. Now that we have started to fine tune and brush off the dirt and the dust from your goals, we're going to ask ourselves this next question: why is this so important to you to achieve? Why is it so important for you to have this thing in your life? Why is it so important for me to have better sleep? Why is it so important for me to build a more cohesive and bigger community in the BFRB community? This is an incredibly important step. If you're not deeply connected to why you're doing something, you will not follow through when things get hard. It's simply the way our brain works. If we don't know what we're getting out of something, if we aren't deeply connected to what's in it for us, and we really give a shit about it, then we're not going to work through the hard times. We're not going to see the point in it. If you want to go to the gym more regularly, but the reason why you want to go to the gym is because you think that's what you should be doing, what are you getting out of that? Not much. You're doing it for other people. You're not doing it for yourself. When you set a goal, it must be for yourself. There must be a component of it that is for yourself. If there isn't, then you won't follow through when it gets hard. You deserve this change that you're wanting to create. When it comes to improving my sleep, the reason why I want that is because my health is one of my core values. And I know the only way that I can truly be happy and thrive is if I am healthy. And currently, the biggest impact on my health right now is sleep issues. It's lack of sleep. It doesn't make me feel good about myself. It makes life harder. And it makes it harder to show up for this community in the way that I want to show up. It makes it harder for me to be a present and supportive partner. And I know I said there needs to be a component that is about you. It's okay if it's about other people as well. We want to be able to serve. That's the flip side. When you set a goal, it's about you. And then we also want to flip it outwards and look at how is this going to impact the people in my life for the better. So think about why. Why do you give a shit? Why does this matter so much? What are you going to lose if you don't do it? What is it going to cost you? What is it going to cost your family, your job, your community? Does it actually matter? The only person who can answer that is you. Once you have established your why, then we can have a look at the how. And a lot of the time what I notice is either people are really clear on the why, but they have no idea about the how, or they're really clear on the how, but they're not connected to the why. You need both. The how is the reality, the logic, the steps that you're going to take to make it happen. It's your brain doing its job. The why is the emotional aspect. When you combine both, we are powerful, we are unstoppable, we are amazing, we are consistent, we follow through. When you only have one, we're a mess. And then we get frustrated, we get lost, we get annoyed, we give up. The first thing we want to get clear on is what the end result actually looks and feels like. We're going to start at the end and we're going to reverse engineer our way backwards. How will you know you have achieved your goal? What are you going to be able to see, touch, taste, feel, tell yourself? We need to get really clear on that because if we don't know what it looks like when we have achieved the goal, then we're not really going to know what we're working towards. And if you don't know what you're working towards, we just stop because we don't know where we're going. It's like you're in a race, but you don't know where the finish line is. You don't know how long you're supposed to run for or how far. And eventually you're just going to stop, catch a train, go home. And it's going to be really unsatisfying. But when you know where the goal is, when you know where you're going, when you have that focus, then you get to feel the satisfaction of completing that goal. So how will you know when you have achieved your goal? For me, with better sleep, I'll know how I have achieved that when I sleep between 7 to 9 hours a night, 26 days out of 30. That's tangible. That's something I can track. And in fact, I do track how many hours of sleep I get each night currently. What about you? How will you know you have achieved that goal? How can you measure it? Now, if you're struggling with this, another way that you can make it tangible and put it into numbers and say, I'm going to know I have achieved this goal when I've done it for 90 to 100 days in total over the span of 6 months. It can be the amount of times you actually do that thing. Now we are going to reverse engineer it. How can I get myself to a space where I'm sleeping 26 days out of 30, 7 to 9 hours a night? I can see I need to reduce scrolling. Why do I use scrolling? I use it to take a break. So I need to give myself more breaks more often. What this looks like is meditation. For me, it also looks like pausing after completing every single task I do and having a moment of appreciation. It also looks like having at least one ritual a day that allows me to slow down and be present with myself. I have a pretty strong feeling that when I meditate regularly, when I take time to pause and appreciate completing tasks rather than just bulldozing through to the next one, and when I ensure that I have one ritual a day that allows me to be present with myself, that is going to help me get the break that I need to regulate myself so that overwhelm and anxiety and dysregulation reduce down to healthier levels And through doing that, I will sleep better. Now, this is why I said choose one thing from those three categories, because you may see a few goals come out of just one of those things. And we don't want to overwhelm you with a whole heap of shit to do, because that is a big mistake that we make. Is we riding on that motivation, that inspiration, and that hope, we set a bunch of new big goals, and it's too much change all at once. And then it gets overwhelming once that motivation wears off, and then we crash and burn. That is why we are going to go with less is more. Now, let's refine this even more, because you're doing so well so far. Let's ensure this really becomes something that you feel that you really want to and you really can achieve. You're going to set a timeline for each of your goals. If you noticed, when I set the goal for sleep, I didn't just say when I sleep 9 hours every night. I said when I sleep 7 to 9 hours, 26 days out of 30. Listen to how that sounds. I want to lose 5 kilos. I want to lose between 3 to 7 kilos in 4 to 6 months. The power of the timeline gives us flexibility. It is forgiving, and it allows us to step out of black and white thinking, because black and white thinking is setting ourselves up for failure. It is a lot easier to lose 3 to 7 kilos than it is to lose exactly 5. You can know that you're already achieving, or you've already achieved your goal when you hit the 3 kilo mark. Anywhere between 3 and 7 kilos is a win. For me, anywhere between 7 and 9 hours, it's a win. 9 hours would be my goal, but 7 hours is enough. Every single day would be amazing, but I'm realistic about that. Let's be realistic. We're not perfect. Stuff happens. Life happens. I currently don't have kids, so I believe that 26 out of 30 days is reasonable. So with every single one of your goals, you're going to set a timeline, and the timeline is going to be very specific. Again, we are getting more, it's like a babushka doll of your goals. Like there's going to be more specific and more specific and more small until it gets so tangible. It's like, well, of course I can do that. We started off with this really big goal, and we've whittled it down and refined it, and we're about to get it into this beautiful tiny little gem that feels totally manageable. What we want to look for in your timeline is a sweet spot, the Goldilocks spot. You say you want to lose 5 kilos. Great. How do you feel when you say that? What if you said, I want to lose 10 kilos in 6 months? How do you feel when you say that? What if you say, I want to lose 1 kilo in 6 months? How do you feel when you say that? What we're looking for is the upper range of your timeline wants to feel like a stretch. It wants to feel like a challenge, but it doesn't want to feel overwhelming and like it's too much. Because when we get to the overwhelm, we are hitting our window of tolerance. And when we go outside that window of tolerance, we crash and burn. The lower end of your timeline wants to feel comfortable, but not boring and uninspiring. It wants to feel like, yeah, I can do that. I feel good about that. I feel drawn towards that, but not meh. This is too easy. It's uninspiring. It's not inspiring. It's like meh. So you want your timeline to be in that sweet spot. You have space for flexibility. You have space to be a human, to be imperfect. How are you feeling about your goal or your goals right now? Are they feeling more manageable? Because there's one last step to take. We figured out what the end result is. We figured out your timelines. Now, what's the next step? What do you need to consider? For me, the next step is as soon as I've finished recording this podcast, I'm going to take 30 seconds, just pause and appreciate that I finished this. Then I'm going to set up a space to do meditation this evening when I get home, because I'm actually about to head out to a girl's pottery afternoon where we are going to finish glazing the things that we've created, which is very exciting. I'm looking forward to it. So what did I say for my goals? I said meditation, pausing to appreciate, and I have actually forgotten what the other one is. So on the topic of sleep, I am currently quite sleep deprived. I think I slept maybe 4 light hours last night. But that will also be the next thing. When I finish this podcast episode, I will pause, appreciate what I've done, and I'm also going to write down what my goals are. Write them down. Put them somewhere you can see them. Decide on what your next step is so you can keep the ball rolling, keep the momentum one little step at a time. And when you set goals in one, even just one of these 3 areas, in self-care, in movement, in emotional safety, and resilience. And you go through this process to turn that broad goal into something really refined and specific and tangible and so attainable and achievable. You will follow through. You have just set yourself up for great change and growth in 2026. You will not be the same person in 6 months' time. The last thing that I'm going to ask you to do is to share these goals with someone. Tell someone that this is what you're going to do. Maybe even get a friend or a family member or your partner to do this goal with you. When you say your goals out loud to someone, they are far, far more likely to happen. I even have this written down in my private support group for my clients because we do monthly accountability, focusing on goals, because a lot of what I do with my clients is to help them to grow and change and get results, which means we need to take action. And here's what I write whenever we do our monthly accountability. Studies show you're 95% more likely to achieve your goals with accountability. Share your goals with someone. Share them with the world. Just kidding, you don't have to do that, but share them with at least one other person. And if you want to do that inside my group with me, you can apply to join us for 2026 using the link in the show notes below. It is an absolutely amazing community, incredible program that helps you to do the work, the deep work, healing from chronic skin picking, hair pulling, and nail biting so that you can see real change. Thank you for hanging out with me. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Leave a 5-star review if you're on Spotify or iTunes. And don't forget to leave your experience and your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much. Have a absolutely fantastic start into 2026. I am here for you every step of the way. I'll see you next Tuesday for the next episode of Beyond Skin Picking and Hair Pulling.